to turn from the spiritual side to the more human side. When did you first meet Anthony, and how long have you been partners? And the second one, going with the first, is how has the presence of Lisa altered your lives?
Gosh, we don't have enough time for all that. I met Anthony because he was coming to volunteer at the Gay and Lesbian Center in White Plains to be a volunteer. You have to interview people then. Chris was the president of the loft at the time, and we had a policy that not everybody could just volunteer because you just don't know who you're getting, especially when you have people who are already marginalized. You can come up with some people who have all the wrong intentions in coming to be a volunteer. So we interviewed volunteers to see if they were people that should be working with us, we thought. And Anthony, as I was done the interview, I said, "Are there any other questions?" He said, "Just one." I said, "What?" He said, "Are you available for coffee?" I said, "Okay." And so we went out to coffee, and we started dating soon after. And then right after, it was just only 3 or 4 months after that, I hurt my back very badly. I had to have back surgery. And he was coming over every night in order to spend the night and help me get ready and so forth. And then finally, when I did have surgery, I couldn't walk up and down the stairs. I couldn't do anything. There were days I just had to hold on to the door jamb with my hands behind me and hold on to it because, or in front of me, because the spasms in my body were so bad from the surgery. And he was coming over every day and spending the night just to see if he could help out. And I finally said, "You know, this is just ridiculous. You know, you're already spending the night. Why don't you just move in?" Because at that point, the recovery for that wasn't too bad. I don't think it was about 2 or 3 months. I think it took me to get back on my feet really well. But up until that point, I was taking 24 painkillers a day in order just to try to get through the day. My body had just really, my body takes medicine and just uses it, and then I need more, and uses it, I need more. So the doctor said, "I can't give you any more, it's illegal." So we decided to go on surgery. So I met Anthony basically because of my volunteer work at the loft, but also because he moved in because of my back surgery. And then Lisa came to us unexpectedly. When she was 9, her mother, who is emotionally ill, she's paranoid schizophrenic, dropped her off at our house one night and didn't come back. And so we didn't know what to do. And you can't put, the thing about that is you can't put a child into school unless you have custody. And Anthony didn't have custody. So we had several weeks where she couldn't go to school or anything. We didn't know what we were going to do. So finally we got her into school and so forth. And when Anthony's ex-wife, was feeling better, she came back to try to reclaim her. We fought it. But because the judge had made an error in the first round when Lisa came to live with us, by not informing his ex-wife properly with proper papers, through a snafu, Anthony's ex-wife was able to get custody again, and I had to go that day. It was one of the worst days of my life. Had to go to her room and pack a bag for her and pick her up at school, and that was it. We didn't see her again. We had to drop her off at the lawyers, and that was it. She was gone. We weren't allowed to talk to her. We weren't allowed nothing. That was really, really sad. So eventually his ex-wife started getting in touch with him again, and Anthony had the right to see her, but it was very difficult to see her. I think we saw her once that entire year. And he would drive all the way to Pennsylvania, halfway down the turnpike to pick her up, and then nobody would show up. He would do it weekend after weekend, pretending she said she was going to be there, but his ex-wife just couldn't do that. She was mentally ill. She just couldn't get it together. So one time, Lisa was staying with us, and his ex-wife came and picked her up, and they drove as far as New Jersey. She got lost or something and turned back around in the morning and then dropped her off at our house again at 1:30 in the morning and never came back. So Lisa came to live with us. It was quite an adjustment. I remember the first Christmas, came downstairs and I said, "Hi Lisa, Merry Christmas." She says, "You know, my mother hates you." So, well, isn't that nice? Well, you tell your mother that we don't talk like that in this house, and Merry Christmas. So she didn't. She sat in the corner for quite a while, didn't say very much. She was only 4 at the time when we first started coming to us, and she's now 14 and doing very well. She was #1 in her class last year. She won the science award, the math award. She won an award from the President of the United States for her works. For somebody who could have possibly been pretty damaged by the whole experience, she's done very, very well. She's getting ready to go to Disneyland next week with her chorus, and she just tried out for a play, and she's in the musical at school, Singing in the Rain. Now, those of you who know Lisa would think, okay, what part is she playing? Not the lead, you would think, because she's very outgoing, and probably a singing role. No, she got the role as the featured dancer. She said she was a surprise as anyone else. So that's coming up in a couple weeks. And she asked me to please, she wanted to make an announcement on Sunday. I said, no, I would send out an email to you all if you'd like to come see her in the play. She's doing it in next month.